We're here at Silverstone for a Haas TPC test. Now, Gary, I've got here the run plan. Often we hear people talking about the run plan. Here it is. We've got various different runs: install, baseline, high fuel baseline, rebalance, all these kind of things. So perhaps you can tell us a little bit about building a run plan. I mean, the obvious place to start is probably, what is a run plan?
Well, you just sort of lay out what your objectives are from the test. You obviously try and prioritise them, so you make sure you've got the data that you want to gather from various things. Could be high fuel runs, low fuel runs, a different tyre, ride height changes, just to try and gather data from the different setup changes you do. This is a previous car test, so it's one of these sort of things where really we know most about this car because it's a year-old car. It's whenever you've got a run plan for a new car, you really want to put that data together because you want to learn about the car and sort of understand the car's characteristics, so that when you get to a race meeting, you know that when we change that front ride height by 1 millimetre, the balance of the car will change by this much, so you compensate with that with the front wing or whatever. You try to build all that data up so you know that between sessions at a Formula 1 race meeting, that your changes that you're doing will be productive for the problems you've got. So you can see it all laid out, but I've laid out many of these. You don't always work out. We've got sort of 6 points in the morning here. Now they've just had a quick spin, so obviously something has to disappear from that, and that would be one of the things which really didn't carry much on the priority list. But it's all about the tyres, it's all about the fuel loads that's in the car. It's basically a plan so that all the team that's here, the 20 people or 25 people that's here, have a clue what they're going to do next. That's the objective really. And it may change, it's a living thing, so it might change as you learn something, but initially it's just really to make sure that you're making the best out of the time you've got. Everybody knows what they're doing, everybody knows how to respond to a certain situation. So yeah, it will change, but it's a plan.
And is what's built here something very similar to what you'd have looked at in terms of the kind of running you're doing, the designations of the runs and that sort of thing?
Yes, it is really. You want to do certain laps, because what I've always found is that a car can be quick in one lap because the driver will really work with the car. But whenever you try to do a 5 or 6 lap run, then mistakes come into it. So you're not looking at 1 lap speed, you're looking at actually 5 or 6 laps as far as consistency of performance is concerned. So yeah, it'd be very similar to this. You'd look at trying to do, on this run here, obviously there's 1 lap here, that's an installation lap, and then we get into 9, 6, 6 and 10 laps. And that's because you're trying to learn something about how the tyres are degrading, or how the consistency of the performance of the car. It's never all about just 1 lap speed. That's all right for qualifying. You've got brand new tyres, low fuel, you're white knuckle it for a lap. But really, whenever you go into a race situation, what you want to do is have a car that's balanced well enough so that you don't make mistakes in it. And that's why it's important to have a decent length run. These runs are just, they're not long, but they're long enough to get an indication as to whether or not the car's got a peaky performance or whether it's got a fairly stable performance.
Are you a little bit envious of the way they can do testing these days? Because not only are the teams much bigger, but also you can put that together and there's a reasonable chance you'll hit that. But in your day, there's a reasonable chance you go out and after 3 laps something blows up or falls off and everything changes.
Yeah, times have changed quite dramatically. There's so much simulation work done back at base, and that's including simulation of all the components on the car, gearbox dynos, engine dynos, suspension tests, etc. Nothing's left to sort of stick a finger in the air and see which way the wind blows, because they know all that beforehand. So yes, we used to have a lot more reliability issues, not because we weren't as good as what the teams are now, but just because you didn't have the equipment to sort of do your testing so much back at the factory. It is envious because unless a mistake is made or something strange happens, normally your day would consist of a good run, good amount of laps, and you would get all the information you need. And that's the only way you can move forward. These testing of the previous cars is quite a value to the driver. As I say, the car has gone through its season of development, so it's not so much of value to the team, but it's much for the driver. It's very good. It's also very good to gather data for Haas are putting in a new driver in the loop simulator. So all the data they can gather from a previous year's car, that will be good for them to feed into the simulator, because that will be concreted data that they've gathered now from understanding the car, but it'll also be able to compare it to last year's car performance and see where they could have done better or where they did better than expectations. So it's all a learning curve. Every day is a school day. You learn something new every day.
Now, also compared to your previous life, let's say your first F1 life, we've got Rio Hikawa and Shota Boy here, very professional drivers. It was a little bit more rough and ready, wasn't it? Thinking of days testing a McLaren with James Hunt, you might go wandering off during tests, or tests where you'll turn up, Patrick Tombey's car on a trailer, basically towing it yourself. That's the polar opposite to this, isn't it?
Yeah, I've done all that. Yeah, arrived with me, another mechanic and a driver, and sort of unloaded the car and ran it for a day, and you get the driver out of the car to help you change the front springs, for example. So yeah, very, very different. It's a whole different world from when I started back in 1973. It was you went to race meetings with a car and a trailer. We had sort of 6 or 8 people in a transit van heading off to races. So it's a whole different dimension completely. Our factory at Brabham in 1973, the Formula 1 team consisted of something like 15 people completely. Now it's 1,500 people. It's a different dimension. And looking at the car up closely nowadays, they are so big and bulky and robust, and it's just a whole different deal altogether from what they were in the old days. I'm glad to see the cars have got a little bit lighter and a little bit smaller for 2026. That's a step in the right direction. It should be another step planned for very soon, to be honest, because I think everybody has welcomed that happening, even the drivers. I think it's just the cars look just aesthetically that much more pleasing. But yeah, going back to this test plan, that is what you do. You have to plan it because it's such a big organisation. You have to plan it. You have to have the tyres, for example, for all these runs. Every one of them's got a different number on them, so they've got a different tyre set for each run. It's amazing. We used to do one day in a set of tyres because that's all you had, and if you needed another set of tyres, you had to fit them yourself. It's not like that anymore. So, very professional now.